Well, we talked about the Trump voters not really being too concerned about the share market fluctuations. No. And something like the bottom 50% in the US only hold around 1% of those shares. So it is not a huge concern. And there's this been representation in the media that, you know, Trump's there for the billionaires and the top end of town. And
complete opposite has been the case.
Absolutely. And that has been the case for several years, where those who are the most affluent are increasingly voting left, and those who are working class, aspirational, are voting right. And we're seeing that right here.
They've completely flipped. I don't think they've flipped as much here yet, but in the US they have completely flipped, basically. And actually the Liberals here have to work out whether they're going to be a working class party or not. I still think they try to have their feet in both camps.
Yes, and I think that's why they're failing. I think that is precisely why they're failing, because you can't be all things to all people. And I think their desperation to win back a few of those teal seats in the affluent inner suburbs has completely, Nick, frustrated their messaging and their ability to come up with policies that clearly differentiate them from Labor, to be bold, to be strong on these policies, because they know some of that rhetoric is not going to be popular in the affluent inner suburbs, but it'll be very popular in the outer suburbs and in regional areas.
Yeah, I mean, the politicians that are going to be successful in this modern era are those that are able to straddle that divide between the university-educated, largely in a metropolitan elite, and ordinary practical people who do other jobs for a living. So, you know, we all know what that divide is. We all know how hard it is, increasingly hard to bridge that divide, because they seem to want quite opposite things in many regards. I think when the chips are down, neither, certainly not Albanese or Dutton have managed to do that. Whether it can be done, I don't know. I'm beginning to doubt whether we end up with a political system here which really has, you know, essentially two parties nominally on the centre-right, like much of Europe does. Who knows where this goes? But right now they're both at historic lows on primary votes, and that's the reason.
Now let's go to the UK, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer has finally admitted that a woman is a biological female. It took a ruling from the UK Supreme Court for him to have enough courage to say this.
Do you believe a trans woman is a woman?
Look, I think the Supreme Court has answered that question.
So you don't believe a trans woman is a woman?
Look, a woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment, because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say.
Nick, he's changed his tune. It wasn't too long ago when he was claiming that some women have a penis and some don't have a cervix, and he was very, very confused when that question was put to him. Now he's very clear. I mean, it seems astonishing that a grown man needs a Supreme Court ruling to know something a child understands.
Why do they overthink all this, overcomplicate it, Rita? I don't get it. This man's got a doctorate in law, I think, from Oxford University, I believe. and you'd have thought that he would have enough knowledge of the world at his age to come to that conclusion that about what a woman was long before the Supreme Court had to pass a ruling on it. I don't know whether it's just being a lawyer or whatever it is. I mean, I don't think the guy is stupid. I think they're just so caught up with this narrative and so frightened of their own shadow, so frightened of being criticised by this, you know, quite rabid, mad, radical group of zealots that have been pushing this particular line. That I just don't think they have the courage, do they, to stand up against the trend. And but anyway, thank goodness for the Supreme Court ruling, and thank goodness the Prime Minister of Great Britain has accepted it.
Yes, it's good to see he's accepted it, but I do recall when Peter Dutton was asked this question after that Supreme Court ruling, he kind of dodged it. He really just did not want to talk about it, said it's not an issue for us, it's for the UK. It is an issue for us, because the very same narratives, the very same activism and bullying that's happening is happening right here. In fact, I would argue Australia is considerably worse because we really haven't had the debate because our Conservative politicians have been too gutless to take a position on this.
Yeah, the only comments that I'd make there is just firstly, the mere fact the UK Prime Minister is even talking about this sort of stuff just shows where the West is right now, really, and what must China and Russia and, you know, various...
Can you imagine Vladimir Putin being asked this? Can you imagine Vladimir Putin being asked, you know, can women have a penis? I mean, this was a question that has been posed to Keir Starmer in the past.
We've just descended into silliness. And just on Dutton, I'm really surprised he didn't seize on that question and be emphatic, because it's such an easy win politically. 80%, maybe 90% of people don't think trans women are women.
Yeah.
So why not go with that? Win some votes on cultural issues, which at least don't, you know, they don't cost the budget anything, so go with them.
Well, this is one of the reasons I don't understand why the coalition hasn't really leaned into these so-called culture wars, because one, they're on solid ground. The majority is with them in just about every one of them. And two, they don't cost billions, and we are facing record debt. We're in a cost of living crisis. So if you make some promises based on values as opposed to spending, I think that's a win-win. Now, before you two go, we're going to have to talk about Prince Harry and the deepening rift with his father, King Charles. This is amid the court case over the removal of police protection for Prince Harry. A royal insider has told US Weekly this has been terrible for Harry's relationship with Charles. Harry blames Charles and thinks he can intervene, but Charles can't, and it just continues Harry's narrative that he's been cast out. Adam, this ginger whinger is just a victim. He's just an endless victim. I mean, he's just got the most... really, he's blessed. He's got a wife, he's got 2 healthy kids, he's got this insane lifestyle based on, I don't know, just the luck of his birth. It's not like he's doing a great deal of work to justify the millions he's earning. And yet all we see from him is endless whinging.
No, look, that is true. I think he's lost a great deal of respect in the UK and around the world. But I must say, the more broad point is, when I'm asked about the royals on TV, I A, never really know what to say, and B, it kind of makes me want to be a Republican.
Oh no, God forbid.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Nick.
I voted for the monarchy back in 1999, my first vote. But these stories, I'm like, oh my God, this family. Sick of hearing about them.
Nick, does it make you feel like a Republican when King Charles or Prince Harry's names are mentioned?
Quite the opposite. When you see the human frailties of the royal family and the people in and around the monarch, you know, it just shows the stability of the system, that it endures all this because it is bigger than the individuals, and I think that the monarch is not above the law. So I think it's a wonderful system. It's lasted a long time. I wish sometimes that some of the members of the royal family would use their profile for better and more positive purposes than this. And but frankly, as a father, I think I just find it tragic that a relationship can break down like this and seemingly be irreparable, apparently because of the foolish behaviour of one person. Yes.
Are you blaming this entirely on Meghan Markle, are you? Because I think Prince Harry, I think, escapes a lot of the blame. This is a man who's 40 years old, who's abandoned his family, who's aired his dirty laundry, who's just behaved appallingly, and because, I don't know, Meghan is seen as more unpleasant than he is, she cops all the blame and he kind of skates through.
I wasn't blaming Meghan. He is, as you say, he's a 40-year-old man. He is responsible for his own actions, and if he's purely driven by his wife, then that's a pathetic excuse.
Adam Crichton, Nick Cater, thank you so much for your time tonight.